on the News Channel 5 network. This is OpenLine.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for OpenLine. Such an important topic tonight. We are talking about a big law change that I know will affect you. It's the new hands-free law in Tennessee. It starts July 1st, and I have quite the panel to discuss it with all of us tonight. And by the way, it is OpenLine, so go ahead and give us a call if you have questions or comments about this new law. Let me introduce you to our guests. First, we have Lieutenant Bill Miller from the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Hello, welcome. Thank you for being here. Arriale Tabson from Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you.
And also Dr. Roger Nagy from Tristar Skyline Medical Center. Always appreciate having all of you here. It's going to be a great conversation tonight because, as I mentioned, this seems to affect everybody. We're talking about your cell phone, in your car, calling, texting, even though we know we're not supposed to do it. Now it is against the law. Lieutenant Miller, can you kind of give us the scope of this law, because there are a lot of different pieces to it?
Well, the new hands-free law has taken the texting law just another leaps and bounds forward. What the state of Tennessee is trying to do is just really make this state a much safer state for everyone to travel. As you drive down the road, just about every car that you pass, you see a driver with a cell phone in their hand, whether they're talking on it, whether it looks like they're swiping or searching something on their phone, or whether they're texting. So texting and driving, the use of cell phones in general while driving, it's just a tremendous problem, and it is just a tremendous distraction to drivers while they are trying to drive, and it's very dangerous. And
so now you can be pulled over for this come July 1.
July 1, yes, that's when the law goes into effect. It is a primary law, which means there does not have to be another offense that you have to have committed to be pulled over for. Many will remember back in the time when seatbelts were a secondary offense, where you had to be speeding or having some other type of infraction, and then the seatbelt law was a secondary offense, and then it changed over to a primary. And that's exactly how this law is. It is a primary offense, so you don't have to be doing anything else except having that cell phone in your hand.
What's the penalty that we're going to pay if we get caught?
Well, if you do get, it is a moving violation, first of all, and that does come with points. It's a 3-point per violation for this violation of hands-free law. State of Tennessee is a 12-point system. If you acquire 12 points within a 12-month period of time, then your license can be suspended by the state of Tennessee. The first offense is $50. The second and third offense is $100, and if you're on the cell phone or any electronic type of device, period, that's the fines. But if you're on an electronic device while in a construction zone while workers are present, it goes up to $200. Now let me stress, that's the state fine.
Okay.
Now each community, county, municipal government, they can add fines and fees to that $50, $100, or $200. So it could go up quite substantial.
We'll continue to dig through the nitty-gritty of this law, but folks have probably already noticed the campaign that has started, Hands-Free Tennessee. I've seen it on the big boards along the highway. Arriale, you can talk about that push a little bit.
Yes, the Department of Safety and Homeland Security really took the initiative when it came to education on this law. Over the past month, we developed the website handsfreetn.com, and there you can find the law itself, which details the different aspects of the bill, and you've got information about crash data, local county data, also have social media graphics and flyers. We also have these materials converted over to Spanish as well, and we've made efforts to reach out to their community as well and to do some media there to really translate over the law and help to find a common ground as far as interpretation. So the advocacy and the awareness is very important. I've noticed my neighbors coming up to me asking me about it, and so we've partnered with the Tennessee Department of Transportation, the Department of Tourist Development as well, and so you're going to see banners out at welcome centers as well, and at the Highway Patrol District headquarters we got banners out there. So just if there's any questions or inquiries, we really encourage people to go to that site, handsfreetn.com.
Yeah, it's a great way to find out what this law entails, and then alternatives as well. We're going to talk about that. But Dr. Nagy, I would love to hear about what you see in the ER, because Tennessee is on a list of really distracted drivers, and I'm sure you see the worst of it.
Well, you know, we do, and a recent statistic I heard, and this is a national statistic, but 9 people every day are very seriously injured or killed directly due to distracted driving. And, you know, sometimes that can be, from our perspective, a little bit hard to be able to see into when they arrive in the emergency room. But when you see, you know, the devastation that can cause to a family, even something as simple as answering a text, taking their eyes off the road. We really have to divide it up into three things are happening. People are visually losing attentiveness, they're manually at times losing attentiveness, and they're also cognitively losing attentiveness. And texting is the worst because that hits all three. And so, you know, when you see that devastation, it really is, it's time to take it very seriously and do something that we can prevent all these deaths.
Sure. Let's jump to the lines real quick. This is Open Line. We would love to hear your questions or comments about this new law. We have Brian on the line. Brian, thank you for calling in tonight. You're first up. What's your question or comment?
Well, I support law enforcement all the way, but does that apply to the law officers while they're driving?
Great question. Tell us about that.
If a law enforcement, first responder, fire, EMS are in the purpose of their duties, the law does not apply to them if they're in the performance of their duties. But it does, if we're not in the performance of our duties, then the law does apply to us.
Gotcha. Okay, that's very clear. And this goes for folks who are utility workers, EMT,
Correct.
ambulance drivers, officers of the law, that sort of thing. It's across the board there.
Across the board.
Okay, Brian, great question. Thank you for calling in. The number is at the bottom of your screen. 615-737+. Is the number to call, or 7587. I was reading as I was preparing for the show about this being a huge problem in Tennessee. We rank, according to one study, as one of the top states for distracted drivers. Why is that?
Well, the state of Tennessee, back around I'd say 2005 or so, we swapped over to a different type of crash reporting system, maybe even sooner than that. We became a very proactive state in trying to figure out how crashes were taking place. So last year in 2018, we know that there was approximately 25,000, just shy of 25,000 crashes, 24,600 crashes that we know were distracted driving related.
25,000 crashes just in our state.
That we know about. And the problem is, many drivers, majority of drivers, are not going to admit to law enforcement, yeah, I rear-ended the car in front of me because I was reading a message, or I was watching a video, or I was searching an app, or I was shopping. They're not going to admit that they were driving distracted. So that 25,000 crashes, that's just what we know about, and that is a tremendous problem. And with that being said, drivers we want drivers to take a voluntary compliance with how they react to this law. We don't want to have to enforce it, but we don't want to have to write tickets. We want drivers to simply put the phone down. The Tennessee Highway Safety Office, they have a great campaign about leave the phone alone. Simply drive. Leave the phone alone and drive. And that's what we want drivers to do.
You know, this is going to require a big change of habit for a lot of folks, not just the ones who are talking on the phone, but a lot of us use, including me, the maps all the time. And I will hold my phone and drive like, okay, now I'm going, even though it's telling me I'm a visual person, I want to say, okay, that street's coming up. I can't do that anymore under this law.
Well, the unique thing about this law is that you can still use your maps.
You can use it.
You have to program the street beforehand. You can't hold the phone with any part of your body. Many people will hold the phone under their lap while they're trying to drive, under their arm. We see so many creative ways people hold their phone, other than put it in a cup holder or in a standalone secure device on their windshield or dash. The law does allow for you to have it in a standalone device, such as a suction cup connector to your windshield or to your dashboard or in your cup holder, to where the phone is secure. You can simply swipe it with one finger or push one button with one finger to operate the phone. If you are, like in your mapping system, going to answer a call or hang up on a call. So Bluetooth is the ideal way to go. Let the directions come through your car speakers. Both hands on the wheel. That's what hands-free means. We want your hands to be free to operate the vehicle safely, not do everything else inside the vehicle that's a distraction.
So you know you're going to pull people over and say, but I wasn't texting. Prove it. How do you do this?
Well, like any other law that we enforce, it starts with observation. You know, we observe the driver, we monitor the driver to see what the driver is doing, and the head movements up and down, the shoulders slumped over, they're looking down or looking away, they're pulling themselves up out of their seat to reach another part of the vehicle. That's also a violation of the law. You have to stay maintained in your seat while operating your vehicle. You cannot come unrestrained to reach for your cell phone or electronic device. So with any law, it comes with observation and monitoring, and that's what we'll do. And then we'll describe the the driver's actions to them. And in many cases where if it's a crash with injury or death, that person's cell phone records can be subpoenaed.
Sure, sure. Is there going to be a grace period?
I can speak for the Tennessee Highway Patrol, yes. The Tennessee Highway Patrol, we will have a grace period. We're partnering extremely hard with RL and the Tennessee Highway Safety Office and law enforcement liaison officers all across the state of Tennessee about education. We really want to drive home the educational aspect beforehand. So after Labor Day, yes, is when we will start issuing citations for violations of the hands-free law. With that being said, there's two sides. If we see an extreme violation, then our troopers, they are free to enforce the law as they need to.
What's the craziest thing you've seen out there on the road when it comes to distracted driving?
I probably can't talk about it on air.
Oh, no.
There's a lot of really crazy things people do that do not belong in a vehicle. But the stories that we hear, and the doctor can probably attest this as well, drivers will drive and not know where they have gone, what they have passed, what they have encountered. They can't tell you how the crash happened because they didn't see it. They are simply so distracted and so involved in their phones. We've all been there. You get involved in a conversation. You get so in depth into that conversation, you really just go into autopilot.
Yeah.
And my wife is going to kill me.
Oh no, don't tell on your wife.
Luckily nothing happened, but she was falling behind a car and she was talking to me while she was driving. And the car in front of her turned his turn signal on to turn left. Well, she put her turn signal on to turn left just like the other car was doing.
Just followed him.
Just following and had no clue what she was doing, where she was going.
That drives it home, doesn't it?
That drives it home.
Uh-oh.
And it really drove it home to her. So it's a problem for everyone, not just those who are having the law enforced against them, but it's a problem for us as well in law enforcement and in the first responder world.
Okay, we got lots of folks calling in. I want to get to everybody that we can today. Ed, you're on the line. Ed, thanks for calling in. What's your question or comment?
Question.
Okay. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, I just like to understand when it's a law enacts July 1st, is it going to be enforced on law enforcement or just yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go
I
ahead.
just want to know if it's going to be enforced on the law enforcement because I see a lot of law enforcement that are using their phones, texting. I mean, is this just going to be a one-way street or is it going to be both ways?
Okay, very interesting. Our first two calls have been about this very thing. And I think it's, we see officers drive by us and they have that big computer, most of them, in their car. I mean, it's big. It's sitting there. And a lot of folks, they're doing business. They're really an officer's office right there.
It really is.
How is this going to work, if you don't mind explaining again?
No, it's the same as any law. We're not exempt from any law on the books, whether it's speeding, improper lane changes, and so forth. If we're not just because we're in our patrol cars does not mean we're in the performance of our duty. We could be driving and not have a call that we're responding to. If we're not responding to a call, we don't need to be on the phone. We cannot be on the phone. We have to be in compliance with the law. Okay. Now, there are exemptions for drivers as well. Drivers are also exempt. They can be on their phone in emergency situations, talk to law enforcement, fire, EMS, their doctor. If there's a bona fide emergency going on inside their vehicle, whether it be a man-made emergency or a vehicle emergency or any other type of emergency, a natural emergency taking place in their vehicle, they can be on their phone, but it has to be a bona fide emergency, and it just cannot be an excuse that's widely going to be, I'm sure, used. But law enforcement, we are not exempt, period. The Tennessee Highway Patrol, speaking for us, we have numerous directives and policies that require us to not drive distracted. If we do drive distracted and if we are in a crash or something happens due to our actions, you are suspended, and in some cases you could be terminated.
Okay, thank you for explaining that once again. Let's go to Nancy on the line. Hi, Nancy.
Hi. Is that me?
It is you. Go ahead.
Okay, I have two questions.
Okay.
If I have to use my phone and if I pull over on the side of the road and make that call, will I get a ticket? That's the number one.
Okay.
Number two, what about a passenger in my car? Can they use their cell phone?
Okay, great questions. I'm going to hang up on you so you can listen to your TV, okay? Okay, side of the road.
Two very good questions. Well, let's first of all, let's clarify the emergency lane on the side of the interstate.
Okay.
That is just what that is. It's an emergency lane. You don't want to pull over to the side of the emergency lane on the interstate to get on your phone and take a phone call unless it is an emergency. Now, we strongly suggest that you get off the exit ramps or you pull off to into a parking lot somewhere and make your call. Because there may be a driver who's coming along the interstate who is driving distracted and rear ends to the back of your vehicle. So the emergency lanes are strictly for what that is. It's emergency lanes, law enforcement, fire, EMS. They have to travel up those lanes to get to a crash. So, but yes, as a driver, as long as you're legally stopped or parked, you can use your cell phone as it is intended, as hold it with your hand and operate it normally.
Does that mean at a stoplight as well, or a stop sign?
That's up for interpretation by many agencies, and the way that the Tennessee Department of Safety and Tennessee Highway Patrol interpret that law. Of course, we did not write the law. This law was written by our state legislatures. So if you're at a red light or stop sign and you are legally stopped, as long as that vehicle's not in motion, then you are permitted to use your phone. But that's the same way the texting and driving law was. As long as you were stopped legally, then you could text. But this is the same premise. But once that vehicle goes into motion, your hands are back on the wheel, off the electronic device. If you're not, once in motion, you can be cited. Passengers in the vehicle are free to use their phones and so forth, just as they have always done.
Okay, so that call comes in, that text come in, hey, answer it over there, will you?
Exactly.
Yeah, leave it up to them.
Leave it up to the passenger.
All right, Nancy, thank you so much for your call. We have Joan on the line. Joan, you're up. Do you have a question or a comment?
I do. I have basically a two-part question regarding teenage drivers. I'm wondering if you guys are seeing more accidents or more distracted driving in teenagers, and if you think this law is going to be affecting them more so than other populations.
Okay, and what was the other part to your question? Anything?
Just if you're seeing more accidents with teenagers, or if you think that this law is going to impact them more.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for calling in. I'm going to hang up on you so you can listen to your TV, Joan. Who's the worst culprit out there? Adults, teens, new drivers, veteran drivers?
Well, you'd be surprised. Teen drivers are instructed from the time that they get their driver's license to the graduated driver's license law to stay hands-free. This has been in effect for them for some time. So but now they always practice what they are required to do. Obviously, they're teenagers. We've all been there. We've all not necessarily done the best or made the best decisions. But teen drivers, we have seen a spike. We are seeing an increase in teenage driving fatalities. So we are about 25 fatalities higher this time compared to this time last year.
Gotcha.
So teenage drivers, we really need to have parents, guardians, teachers, everyone friends, family, just really drive the message home to leave the phone alone and drive. Because as they're coming up, their younger brothers and sisters who are in the vehicle with them will also see how their older teen sibling is operating, and that becomes a memory, a muscle memory. It's an inherited trait per se. So hopefully our younger drivers who are coming up after them will also learn. But we are not necessarily seeing the largest increase in teen fatalities or teen injuries or teenage crashes because of distracted driving. It's your middle-aged white male who is our largest I'd say middle-aged, from your 20s to your 40s or so, white male in pickup trucks who are causing the majority of these type of problems.
Is it that feeling of I'm invincible?
For the most part, big trucks. Ariel can definitely talk about this with that dynamic of our population not wearing seat belts as well, and it could be a mindset. I'm in this big vehicle. I'm invincible. No one's going to tell me how to drive my truck or so forth and so on. We're not really trying to tell you how to drive your truck. We're trying to give you the education so you can make your own decisions how to safely operate your truck safely and wisely, because your decisions, really all of our decisions, affect everyone on the road, including our family.
Yeah. All right, we have to take a quick break. When we come back, more of this discussion. Stay with us, and your phone calls too. Stay with us.